Italy?
Yes, until age 13.
Carnegie Hall, age 13.
Age 13, Carnegie Hall, that's it.
Really?
Yes, I started
Who brought
singing.
you here?
Well, I started singing. My father started teaching me when I was about 2 and a half. Gave my first concert with a 100-piece orchestra when I was 6.
6.
Started touring, first small cities in Italy, then big cities, and then lots of Europe, most of Europe,
Right.
and then was brought to Carnegie Hall. I was originally supposed to come in with Saul Hurok. But Hurok wanted, you know, to have me do like 4 concerts a week, and my dad thought, well, if I did that in 6 months' time, I wouldn't sing, and so I would lose my voice.
Right.
And so he arranged for, through a friend of his, with whom he had studied singing in Pesaro, which is Marche on the Adriatic coast.
That's your home?
That's where I was born and raised, and Rome.
And Rome.
And Rome. And so this gentleman who was a voice teacher and had sung at the Met and everything, he arranged for me to come to Carnegie Hall, made my debut there. The next Sunday, Ed Sullivan had me on his show, and had me on the following Sunday, which was a precedent because he never had anybody, you know, twice immediately.
Right.
And on the first show, Frank Capra was working on a script with Bing Crosby called Here Comes the Groom.
Right.
And he saw me and said, I have to have her in the movie, wrote me in. And after the same concert, Giancarlo Menotti, the famous composer, he was getting ready to film his Broadway hit, the opera called The Medium, in Rome. And he didn't hear my concert, but he got a hold of my concerts recordings.
Right.
And so I did both things at once, and that's how I came to Hollywood, and that's how it all...
Actually, at 13,
13.
you arrived. Bing Crosby, first film.
Bing Crosby.
I mean, you were in Bing Crosby's... I can't believe it.
Yeah.
What a story.
Yeah.
13 years old. Remember the song you sang at Carnegie Hall?
Well, I sang several
Many,
arias. A few that I can remember. One of them was the mad scene from Lucia de Lammermoor.
Oui.
The other one was Caro Nome from Rigoletto. And I sang things from Traviata.
How many languages does Anna Maria Alberghetti speak?
Well, not many. I used to speak French, but now I've lost that somewhat. I speak Italian. I'm very fluent in Italian, Spanish, and English. And if I would concentrate on it a little bit, and if I were to live in France for a month or so, I'm sure it would all come back. Really 3.
Your father was a cellist?
Cellist.
Mother was a concert pianist?
Pianist, yeah.
So you really grew up in the...
That's all we talked, breathed, and inhaled was music, you know. And I really was a product of my dad's dream. My father, besides being a cellist, he was a baritone with the La Scala Opera Company. But he claims that his voice had been ruined by bad teaching. So he gave up his career in opera, which was somewhat successful, because he felt that, you know, his voice had been ruined and he couldn't do with it what he really wanted to do. And he swore that if he had any children, they would have a voice. There wasn't any question that they wouldn't. And he would be their only teacher. So nobody else would ruin that voice. And I'm told that we know how little babies in the middle of the night, you know, they scream and carry on, and the parents are not thrilled about that. My dad was ecstatic, because he said, listen to that voice. Look at those lungs, look at that chest. And he would let me scream and cry in the middle of the night to develop my breath control.
You didn't grow up as a 13-year-old, an ordinary child.
No, I don't think so.
I mean... Remember the song you sang at Ed Sullivan, the first...
Caro Nome from Rigoletto.
Oh,
As a matter of fact, my sister Carla, who is also a singer...
How many sisters and brothers do you
have? I have 1 brother and 1 sister.
Okay.
And my brother is an attorney in the motion picture business, in the entertainment business. And my sister is a wonderful singer, and she, for my last birthday, tracked down the original kinescope of the Ed Sullivan show and gave it to me for my birthday, which is, you know, a treasure.
How exciting, how exciting. Looking back at seeing that, how do you feel? Is there some
Well, I tell you, I was in awe of the purity of the voice and the technique, if I may say so myself. I'm talking about myself because it was really quite extraordinary, especially being 13. But there was sadness because I felt the tenseness, the tension in this little child, you know, that so much rode on it.
Yeah.
And also when we all came and moved to this country, my dad gave up his position in Italy in the musical conservatory, a position which in Italy you don't get back unless the person who has inherited dies. So from that moment on...
So the family really got with Anna Maria Alberghetti?
Yes.
They devoted the whole thing?
Yes. And so every engagement that I had, every appearance, I had the feeling that if something went wrong, then my family's livelihood was threatened, which was, you know, a very heavy trip.
Angel from Paradise, come on. Anna Maria Alberghetti, life cover, twice. Not just once, but twice. New York Times, Angel from Paradise. What does that mean to you?
Well, you know, I knew that I was a success.
Right.
That's all. That's what it really meant. My family always didn't allow my success to really go to my head, for which I commend them. It meant, and to me, you know, reviews bad or good, you know, I really tried to do the best I know how. And after that, I sort of, now, today, I don't stress too much over it. You know, it's better if the reviews are positive, but you can't always, you know, get that involved with the results. I think you have to keep focused on the work and to do the best you can.
Come to Hollywood and Bing Crosby. What after that? What happened there?
I did several motion pictures. One with Dean Martin called 10,000 Bedrooms, one with Sterling Hayden called The Last Command, Cinderella with Jerry Lewis.
I love that movie.
Yeah,
you were delightful.
It was a cute movie, isn't it?
Not cute, you were wonderful.
Thank
we don't
you.
have movies like that anymore.
It was charming. It really was charming. And then Paramount, in order to stay under contract to them, wanted me to not continue to perform live.
Singing.
And the roles that were coming down in motion pictures were not worth gambling, developing stage fright, you know, which I experienced stage fright.
Did
for
you
the
really?
First time in my life, after Paramount forbid me to perform live when I was under contract with them for 2 years. And then my dad, you know, said, enough of that. If they don't want you to do that, we'll just have to not worry about motion pictures. You're a singer and da-da-da. So
they were trying to get you acting, too.
Right, yes, but they wanted, you know, I don't know exactly what happened. I was too young to really even understand the dynamic. The bottom line was that the contract was terminated, and I remember, you know, do you remember before our new facilities were built, the concert hall was called the Philharmonic here in LA.
Absolutely.
And so I gave my concert there, and my dad had arranged a week prior to the concert for me to do a concert in not in Glendale, in Bakersfield.
Bakersfield.
And I said to him, you know, why do you want me to sing in Bakersfield? Well, when I walked on that stage, I knew why. I knew stage fright for the first time in my life because I had not performed live for 2 years. And of course, you know, I got over it very quickly, but from that time on, even when I retired for several years when my children were born, I made sure that I performed live from time to time to keep it going, because all of a sudden, you know, the stage, which I'm so comfortable working on, if you don't do it for a while, you know, it's no longer your friend. You know, it's, you know, you develop fears.
42 appearances on the Ed Sullivan Show. 42. I think you're about the longest.
I don't know, but
yes,
a lot.
42, Ed Sullivan. Why do you think that? Because you know why? America adored Anna Maria Alberghetti, and when the days Ed Sullivan was there.
Yes.
You grew up, see?
Yes, and he was, you know, he introduced me as he introduced so many people to this country, and I think he felt partially like a surrogate parent, you know, and he saw me grow up, so to speak, which was, you know, really...
Jerry Lewis, another one, adored you.
Yeah.
Tell me.
Yeah. Jerry was great fun to work with.
Really?
Yeah, to me he was almost very generous on the set as far as giving me the proper time for the close-ups, and very kind and a great fan, a workaholic, I might add, which was a total change of pace when I worked with Dean, you know, who on the set of 10,000 Bedroom, you know, between shots, I never knew if it was a rehearsal or a take, you know, because he was so laid back. And I remember being so amused by the fact between shots he would practice his golf, you know, and you know, totally the opposite from Jerry, you know, who was very driven, almost, and still is. I don't know if it still is. I guess now maybe he got, you know, milder, you know, and not as workaholic as in those days. I don't know. I haven't.
Is Anna Maria Alberghetti an alcoholic? Work alcoholic?
I am an adrenaline. Adrenaline,
yes. Go ahead.
what is the word? You know, adrenaline.
Adrenaline.
Freak. Adrenaline
yes.
freak.
I am too. That's
And especially if I have a couple of cups of coffee in the morning, which is the only time that I really drink coffee, is first thing in the morning. Yeah, I'm very wired.
Broadway. Carousel. I saw you in Carousel.
Carnival.
Carnival. I get confused with Carousel.
Everybody does.
Why
Everybody
do I do
does.
that? Why?
I don't know, because they sound alike, and
Is that
and
what it
they
is?
were
Carnival. I just got back from Europe. I was in Paris, and I was working the American military shows, and there you were on Broadway. I walked into this theater. You were wonderful. Matter of fact, you won the Tony for that.
Yes.
Best
Yes.
musical?
Yes.
Tell me
Yes.
about that show.
It was a magical show for me. I remember I was working in Las Vegas when I was sent the script, and I read the script and I closed the last page, and I called my manager, who was then Pierre Cossette, who has now, you know, become a big Broadway producer, you know, with Follies. And I said to him, I have to do the show. You know, it's very seldom that you read a part where you feel that you are the person. You can touch her, you can feel her. It was a wonderful part. It was really a play with music. The music, I think, you know, was mainly a play.
Yes, it was.
And it was a wonderful acting challenge. And I just fell in love with it, and I loved the entire
Have you ever turned down a
experience.
part that you regretted later, Anna Maria?
Well, I was being considered for doing West Side Story many, many years ago. And in the middle of the negotiations, I don't know exactly why they broke down, but I remember my manager coming to me and saying, you know, well, I don't know, you know, if we should continue pursuing this because, you know, you're a big star already and you have a big name, not on Broadway, but you have a big name, and they don't want to put any names above the title. And I don't know what happened, but, you know, the part did not materialize. And of course, when it opened and I saw the show,
I loved it.
I mean, it's to this day, I think it is my favorite show.
It's mine too.
Of all, is it really? To me, it was so ahead of its time.
Saw it at the Winter Gardens, and I just fell in love with this.
Oh, it was.
Why do you think it's our favorite? Now tell me, why?
Well, first of all, I thought, as I said, it was ahead of its time, and for me, a scene, a dance in that show, a dance number and a song was, instead of dialogue, it was so incredibly integrated versus musical. Most musicals were, you know, ta-da-ta-ta-ta-ta, okay, now we're going to give you a song, you know. West Side Story never lost the intensity and the flow of the drama, of the story. I don't know, and musically, of course, and lyrically, to me, it was, you know, a brilliant, brilliant show.
What's your happiest memory in life right now? You have a happiest memory?
Right
you have
now,
children. How many
right
children?
now, my life with my kids.
With your kids, that's what I figured. How many do you have?
I have 2 daughters.
2 daughters. How long have you been married?
I was married for 7 years. I have been divorced for 20. I was in a relationship with a man for 16 years, and it ended 3 years ago. And I think the happiest time of my life is now.
What's the biggest lesson you have learned in your life?
The biggest lesson that I think you have to evolve and be in constant search of improving and learning about yourself, which I find the biggest gift of all times. Growing to me is the biggest joy of life.
Does Anna Maria Alberghetti know who she is now?
Yes, for the first time maybe in my whole life.
Really?
Yes.
You seem happy.
I am happy.
Are you?
Yeah. I've done a lot of work
And yes,
in growing inside.
what's been the hardest for you then? What's really been the hardest for you then?
The hardest.
Because you look so happy and so content. You know yourself.
It was a hard decision, but in retrospect, it's the best decision that I've ever made. After my children were born, and I came back into the business, I put the business in second place
First, your
instead
life,
of first.
Yes.
It was a hard decision because up to Carnival, all of my energy and focus was on the career.
Yes.
And after I won the Tony Award, which was what I really wanted in life more than anything, to be recognized by your peers is, you know, the greatest feeling in the world. You know, second cover of Life magazine, all the accolades, etc., etc. But after the kids were born and I came back into the business, I came back into it, but never really wanting to come back with the same intensity that I had put into it, into my career prior. And therefore, my career, you know, suffered a great deal. But you know how after you can look back in your life, it's the best move I've ever made because it allowed me to have a life. And even though I continued to work, I would be gone 3-4 days and then home. You know, I never really took another long tour unless it was in the summer and the kids could go with me. And I was able to maintain a sense of roots and family for my kids and a house that I was in most of the time, if not all the time. And as a result of that, and my growing as a person and trying to better myself as a human being, I think I have 2 terrific kids.
West Side Story, you said it's your favorite. You did it.
Many, many, many productions of it.
Every time you do it.
I don't do it anymore.
No,
I'm
but
too
when
old
you
to do it.
No, but when you did it, you felt.
Oh, I loved it, and it was the only show that you know, prior when the orchestra comes in. Usually, the orchestra has X amount of hours with the conductor before the principals and chorus comes in. I would always go in when the orchestra rehearsal started because I would always get so excited listening to the music, you know. And
you worked my favorite hotel in Toronto, which is the York.
Oh yeah, great hotel.
Gorgeous, elegant
wonderful
hotel.
Wonderful.
That ballroom there.
Isn't it beautiful?
You worked that. You're a big favorite. Oh well, you're a favorite all over, but favorite in Canada.
Yes.
Tell me about the Waldorf Astoria.
Well, the Waldorf Astoria, one of the biggest thrills of the Waldorf Astoria is that Jack Kennedy one night came in and stood in the back.
Did he really?
Yes, and I was enthralled. As he
Did you do Camelot that night for him? To sing it?
No.
Because you did Camelot. You have done it.
I have done it, yes. No, I didn't have it in the act at the time. That was a thrill. It was a thrill to play the Waldorf because, you know, in those days the Empire Room was, you know, one of the places, you know, to be seen.
Does Anna Maria Alberghetti really like to go to Las Vegas and work Vegas, really? I don't think you enjoy that much, do you?
I used to work it a lot.
A lot, yes.
And we all did it for the same reason, you know.
Of course.
Tons of money.
Yeah.
Vegas has changed a lot. And people like myself don't play Vegas that much anymore. But did I love it when I did play it? I didn't like the feeling of getting up in the morning and having to walk through the casino, you know, and there is sort of a decadence kind of feeling, you know. It's one thing when you go in and see the show and you go there for 2 days and gamble and have fun, but to live there for a month at a stretch was not exactly my favorite thing to do. Also, nightclubs are not my very favorite
Mine
things.
either.
I like theater, you know.
What's your philosophy in life?
My philosophy.
You sound so happy. You sound like you know who you are. What is your philosophy?
My philosophy is that you have a choice every day when you wake up to put your energy into make it a wonderful day or a negative day. You can look at this glass and it's not full. You can say it's half empty or it's half full.
Right.
I choose that it's half full.
Really?
Yes. Because, and I am not a religious person, but I'm a spiritual person.
I am too. That's the way I feel.
And I feel that...
Are your children that way? You brought your children that way?
Yes.
You don't force them to church or anything?
No, because I really think that religion, for me, I respect people who go to church, a synagogue, and whatever their house of prayer is, and if they get something wonderful from it, good for them. My feeling is I'm a very spiritual person. I believe in a higher power, in I don't know what shape or form God or a goddess is, but it works for me, and I have the feeling that it's never going to abandon me.
Yes.
And that gives me a feeling of being sort of, you know, held, and that's what I hang on to when I go through difficult times.
How do you deal with stress? We have
sometimes
stress.
not well.
Not well.
Sometimes not well. I think because of also the stress that I've been through as a kid, I think our subconscious sort of responds, you know, to early experiences. I'm not always able to pace myself well.
Right.
And most of the time I am okay. And when I get into trouble, I get into it, but I get myself out of it very quickly.
People turn their TV on. Here it is, Maria Alberghetti, the Italiana with the Italian salad.
The salad dressing.
A lot of salad dressing. A lot of people don't know. I mean, they think Anna Maria Alberghetti is that
the salad dressing lady. Yes,
they don't know what you are all about, which I'm trying to bring.
The younger kids, you know, especially people who don't follow, you know, my kind of music, do know me as that, which was a great experience, great exposure.
How did you get that?
I was 2 weeks overdue with my second child, and my agent from New York, March Fields, called me and they said they would like you to do a campaign for Good Season, you know, extremely well paid and great exposure, because every time I was on, they had to write my name, and I said who I was. And I said, it's fine, except if my water breaks, I'm going to have to leave in the middle of the shoot. And they said, okay. And I did it for 11 years, on and off. So it was a great experience.
You do a lot of good charities around town. I hear your name around, I see. What's your favorite? Do you have a favorite?
No, I don't have a favorite.
But you do?
But I do a lot of them, yes.
A lot of them.
Yes.
Hancock Park, Civic Like Opera. You're going to be performing this Sunday.
I'm going to be hosting it,
Hosting
sort of
it?
speaking, yes.
Hosting?
And then singing a little something.
Yeah, you do host a lot of shows, don't you? That's right, lecturing too, yeah. Tell me about this thing at the Hancock Park Civic Like Opera.
Well, I think it's something that an opera company that is brand new.
Right.
And I think they have a very nice schedule for next year. Yeah. Without my glasses, I can't see them.
That's okay. They're having 42nd Street and Gypsy and Evita.
Kismet. And I think it's wonderful.
This is Hancock Park, right?
Yes, and I think it's terrific. We need theater for people to go to, and we need theater so that it will give us the people who are coming up a training ground, you know, because, you know, vaudeville is no longer here. A lot of the, you know, I mean, I didn't grow up in the vaudeville time, but I understand that was the greatest experience for most people to have. Then when I was growing up, there was tons of theater, summer stock, you know, but now that's disappearing. A lot of
you actually think that is really disappearing, Anna Maria?
Oh my God, yes. I mean, by comparison to 20 years ago.
Really?
Yes, they were
you did a show with Mimi Hines, Tony Bennett,
but
Tony
that,
Martin.
yes, but that
Sid Charisse.
wasn't. But that wasn't theater, summer stock theater.
What that was?
That was just a touring show we did. Yes, but summer theater years ago, every artist that had a box office name would go out with a show for 12, 14 weeks. You know, the Goober and Gross circuits and stuff. I think the Goober used to have 14, 16 theater. They have 2 or 3 now. A lot of the theaters have gone belly up, you know. So
what do you think we should do? I know you're trying to go. This.
I don't know. I just think people.
Our music is changing.
Changing, but I think we're finding a new change recently, where I think people are going back to a music that is more musical in the sense less rock oriented. And mind you, I do like a lot of rock, but a lot of it is not for me and for people who would like, you know, my kind of singing.
You've traveled all over the world. Have you seen some young girl that you really think it's another Anna Maria Alberghetti out there now? Is there someone out there?
I haven't, but whenever I see a little child perform and who has a lot of presence on stage. Did you see the sequel to Annie?
Yes,
when it was playing
yes,
here?
I saw it.
Do you remember the?
I saw the little girl in
the
that.
little girl, not the little girl.
I
who
know
played
the
Annie.
other one. I know that one. I thought she was outstanding. Were you there? That's the one I liked.
I died for her, and and a little part of me goes,
I saw it. She was
oh my God,
outstanding. Yeah,
and she's been what? She's 6 years old or 7
brilliant.
or it wasn't she
outstanding. She
had
it.
Jumped,
she had
right? She had it.
Yeah, she just had it. Some have it though. So you recognize that too.
Oh yes, oh yes. It's wonderful, and yet part of me wants to be protective and say, "Oh, I hope they're not going to push her." You know,
that is your first love, isn't it? The theater. What's the greatest achievement
in the theater?
In your mind, you have accomplished.
I think it was the Carnival. My playing the role of Carnival. By the way, this summer I toured with a show called Phantom, which is not the Lloyd Webber version. But there's another version that is, there are several versions, but this is quite wonderful.
Really?
And it's written by Arthur Coppett and Yeston. You know, they are the people who wrote Nine.
Is it the
and
same
Grand
thing
Hotel.
as Phantom, though?
It's the same story, different music.
I took Susanna Foster, the original Susanna from the movie.
Oh, really?
To the opening
of really?
Phantom. Yeah.
And this is quite different, this show. The music is all different, and in a way, I like the development of the character much more. You really get to understand what happened to the Phantom as a little boy and how he has become the way he has become and why, etc. And it was quite interesting, and it was a very successfed tour. And I played the diva.
You played the diva?
Yes.
And you usually don't play divas, do you?
No, I played waifs all of my life.
Does Anna Maria Alberghetti like TV? Perform on TV?
Yes,
How come we don't see you much acting on television, Anna?
Well,
is it because of you?
Well, it's part because when I retired and I sort of laid back, I didn't push. But I'm going back to acting and trying to pursue TV from that point of view. But as far as doing television, as far as singing, a lot of my contemporaries